Welcome to The Legend of Zelda, The Complete Story. How can we have this episode? Well, if you missed it, a new Legend of Zelda game has been released, and for a channel that's focused on the storylines and lore of video games, this leads to us bringing you 3 videos. But this video is going to explain to you the exact plot that happened in A Link Between Worlds, and where Nintendo claims it fits. This is their official word on the matter. Alright, let's begin. This plot is from me beating the game about an hour ago. Before you is the official timeline release by Nintendo where they claim that A Link Between the Worlds fits. This is from the Nintendo of America official Twitter. So here's what that blurry Twitter picture reads. After Ocarina of Time, in the failed timeline we have a link to the past. This is followed by our adventures in Oracles of Seasons and Ages, and then Link's Awakening. These games are covered in other videos in this series, so click these links to go to their story videos. Let's get into the nitty-gritty. Hundreds of years ago, after the events of A Link to the Past, the royal family decided to split the Triforce back into 3 pieces to prevent evil from rising again. They felt that if the pieces weren't together, evil could be stopped. But this had an unforeseen effect. Each piece of the Triforce then returned to its own elected owner. One part returned to the Demon King Ganon, the Triforce of Power. One part stayed with the royal family, the Triforce of Wisdom. And the last part, the one that we always follow, the Triforce of Courage, returned to the elected hero. Maybe it was from living on the same hill, in the same house as the original hero, but a new hero and a new journey was about to begin. Our hero, named Link, as all good heroes would be, wakes up, and as the blacksmith's apprentice, he sets off to deliver a finished sword to the captain of Hyrule Castle. But when he finds the captain to deliver the sword, he meets our villain, Yuga. Yuga transforms the minister of the sanctuary into a painting and runs off just as he knocks Link unconscious. Our hero wakes up back in his house where he meets Ravio. Ravio explains that he has nowhere to stay and asks Link, a complete stranger, if he can stay in his house. Link, our always silent hero, agrees with silence, and to repay Link, Ravio gives him a peculiar bracelet. Link then sets off to find Yuga and the paintings. But just as he's about to head off, Zelda telepathically tells him to come to the castle, where she then explains that in order to defeat Yuga, Link will need the Master Sword, and sends him off to gather the pendants to prove his worth. During his journey to get the Master Sword, he ends up meeting with Yuga again, who is being rather annoyed by this boy, and changes him into a painting on the wall. It is here that Link will live forever, except Ravio's bracelet somehow lets Link pass in and out of the wall. Link continues his hunt for the pendant, and asks Ravio about the bracelet, though Ravio seems confused by this new power. Ravio then reveals that he has a bow, a hookshot, staves, bombs, and just about every other tool you're going to need, and he's willing to rent you any of the items that you could want. Upon getting the pendants and pulling out the Master Sword, Link sets off to the castle to confront Yuga. But he's too late, isn't he always? Yuga changes Zelda into a painting and runs through the crack in the wall with her. Link quickly hops into the wall and chases after them, confronting Yuga again, where he learns that Yuga plans to use the paintings of the 7 sages and Zelda to unlock Ganon once again, and get his Triforce of Power. Using his own wizard powers, Yuga is about to kill Link when he is saved by an alternate version of Princess Zelda? Once they get away from the area, it is explained that this is the kingdom of Lorule, and this is Princess Hilda. Lorule at one time had its own Triforce, but instead of trying to separate and hide the pieces like Hyrule did, the people of Lorule decided to destroy the Triforce, thinking that it would save their land from the people fighting for it. What they didn't know is that the Lorule Triforce was powering the world of Lorule, and without it, the world began to fall apart and decay and turn to ruin. Hilda explains that Yuga went to Hyrule to kidnap the sages in order to acquire Hyrule's Triforce, in a misguided attempt to use the Hyrule Triforce to save Lorule. The only way to stop Yuga will be to save the sages, and our hero sets off to do just that. Many dungeons later, he once again saves all 7 sages, and he returns them to Lorule Castle, and learns that it is in fact Princess Hilda who commanded Yuga to kidnap the sages. With that, she summons Yugo Ganon to defeat Link and get the Triforce of Power. Of course, Link defeats Ganon using the Bow of Light while in the wall. But this doesn't stop Hilda. She's intent on taking the Triforce from Link to save her world. At this time, our little house guest Ravio shows up. He reveals himself to be the Lorulian counterpart to Link, and he reveals that he didn't have Link's courage, and without the power of the Triforce to help him, he couldn't stand up to Yugo and Hilda as they devised a plan to save Lorule. When he saw Yugo go to Hyrule, he did the only thing he could, and he followed so that he could help the Hyrule version of Link stop Yugo by supplying all the weapons he gathered in the Lorule dungeons. Ravio convinces Hilda that what she's doing will not save Lorule, but will only ruin Hyrule also. Hilda agrees, and she apologizes, and she gives back their Triforce, and shows Zelda and Link the way out of Lorule. We see Ravio and Hilda accept their fate as Lorule finally begins to crumble into dust. But wait, there's more. Zelda looks to Link and says that the Triforce is now together, so we have a wish to make, and the wish is yours, Link. She knows what Link is gonna wish for, and I bet you all know what Link is gonna wish for also, don't you? Come on, at this point, I had tears in my eyes for Lorule. Well, not really, but it was really sad. Link wishes for the Lorule Triforce to be returned to Lorule, and Hilda and Ravio smile and thank Zelda and Link as the Lorule Triforce repairs and fixes Lorule. With that, our hero puts the Master Sword back for presumably the Link from the original game to find years down the road. And our story ends here. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this chapter of The Legend of Zelda: The Complete Story. It would seem that this game takes place after Link's Awakening, but before The Legend of Zelda: The original game. Or does it? I'll explain much more in a Zelda timeline theory video, but in-game it doesn't actually line up with this timeline. It actually fits more into Majora's Mask's timeline. How? Well, I guess you need to wait for our next video to find out. So why don't you go follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Google Plus to find out when that video is released. Have a good night, or day, or afternoon, or morning, whenever you happen to watch this video.